What if one of the greatest threats to executive judgment isn't a lack of intelligence, experience, or leadership ability? What if it's insufficient recovery? Throughout July, we've explored the connection between sleep, recovery, cognitive capacity, and executive performance. And as we close this month, I want to leave you with one critical reframe. Sleep is not simply a wellness behavior. Sleep is part of an executive's decision-making infrastructure. When sleep is inadequate or inconsistent, leaders do not merely feel tired. The systems responsible for judgment, emotional regulation, risk assessment, cognitive flexibility, and impulse control becomes less reliable. That changes how leaders interpret information. It changes how quickly they react. It changes what they perceive as urgent. And it can change the quality of the decisions that affect teams, resources, and organizational outcomes. Now let's address the myth. One of the most persistent myths in leadership culture is that high performers can train themselves to function effectively on very little sleep. They may continue functioning. They may answer emails, attend meetings, make presentations, and complete tasks. But functioning is not the same as performing at full cognitive capacity. Sleep deprivation can create a dangerous mismatch. Decision quality may decline before the leader fully recognizes that it has declined. In other words, the executive may feel capable enough to proceed while operating with reduced judgment, less patience, narrower thinking, and greater emotional reactivity. That is why I'm used to, it's not necessarily evidence of adaptation. It may simply be evidence that chronic fatigue has become familiar, and familiarity should never be confused with optimization. The strategic elevation is this: organizations must stop treating executive exhaustion as a private lifestyle issue and begin recognizing it as an enterprise-level performance risk. Because leadership decisions rarely remain contained to the leader. A poorly timed decision can affect capital allocation, talent retention, negotiation outcomes, team morale, innovation, and execution. Recovery, therefore, cannot depend entirely on whether a leader happens to find extra time at the end of an overloaded day. It must be built into the way leadership operates. That may include protecting high-stakes decision windows, reducing unnecessary late-night communication, examining travel and meeting schedules, creating recovery space after periods of intense demand, and avoiding major decisions when cognitive capacity is clearly compromised. This does not mean executives will always get perfect sleep. I don't. Leadership includes deadlines, travel, disruption, and seasons of increased demand. The goal is not perfection. The goal is awareness, protection, and strategic recovery. Leaders should be able to ask, am I making this decision from clarity or from depletion? Does this need to be decided now? Is my judgment being influenced by fatigue, urgency, or emotional overload? And what recovery needs to occur before the next high-stakes decision window? Throughout July, we reframed sleep from something that happens after the important work is finished to something that protects the quality of the important work itself. Because the organization does not only need more hours from its leaders, it needs sound judgment. It needs emotional steadiness. It needs strategic clarity. And it needs leaders with the physiological capacity to access the wisdom, experience, and intelligence they already possess. Sleep is not time taken away from leadership. Sleep protects the leader who must make the decisions and the organization that must live with them. I'm Nurse Sherry, Executive Longevity and High Performance Strategist. I help CEOs and senior leaders protect decision quality as a strategic asset by stabilizing the physiological systems that drive judgment, performance, and execution at scale. And as we close July, I want you to remember, Protecting recovery is not lowering the standard of performance. It is protecting the capacity required to sustain it.